But I want to say something about the Biden administration. I want to say something about the Republican Party and the so-called populists. I want them to understand that we are in a Cold War right now, not of our choosing. That communist China, the communist Chinese regime is led by a ruthless genocidal dictator who takes out people who he thinks challenges him and has a firm grip on his society, and he's aiming at us. The Chinese military right now is a larger navy. They have a larger infantry. They have more nuclear launch silos than we do. They've modernized their nuclear systems. We have not. They have more mobile rocket projectors, more mine warfare vessels, more patrol vessels, and I could go on and on. And here we are in Ukraine, and we're running out of munitions. We're running out of weapons. We used to have a military that could fight a war in 2 regions, that could fight a China and Russia. Our defense spending as a percentage of the gross national product, or the gross domestic product, in 2024 is to be 2.7% of the gross domestic product. The #1 responsibility of the federal government is to protect us. In Ronald Reagan's years, it was 5.7%. So we've cut it by more than half when it comes to GDP, and it's having an impact. We don't know what the communist Chinese actually spend. People will throw their numbers at me because they put out lies. Moreover, the fusion between the civilian side and the military side is so complete it's hard to know. Now, you can call me a neocon or a warmonger or a chicken hawk or whatever the hell you want. The fact of the matter is we need to muscle up our military and do it immediately. We need to get rid of these Obama generals like Milley and these Obama admirals so we have real generals and real admirals who weren't pushed up the ladder ultra fast because they would kiss Obama's feet. We need to build up our military. It needs to be a bigger percentage of the GDP because otherwise we will have a World War III because the Chinese are cruising for a bruise and they are looking for a battle. There's a reason why the communist Chinese now have 27 military/civilian sites in our own hemisphere. There's a reason why the communist Chinese have the contracts to run both sides of the Panama Canal. There's a reason why the communist Chinese just made a deal with the Solomon Islands for a deep water port there. My great uncle fought there. It was called Guadalcanal. There's a reason why the communist Chinese have a naval base, effectively, on the west coast of Africa to face the coast of the United States. There's a reason why they have built these phony islands in the South China Sea to control $5 to $6 trillion worth of commerce that goes through there. There's a reason why they're doing all of these things. Australia knows it, Japan knows it, the Philippines know it, South Korea knows it. Even Vietnam is looking for help right now. This country is on a straight line to either take us to war or to choke us off economically. And Xi understands the history of China. He understands empires. He's an egomaniac. He's a narcissist. That's what he's all about. And I have to be honest, I am sick and tired of the phonies in the Republican Party and the so-called populists and the conservative movement and so forth that talk about never-ending wars. Evil is never-ending. Every war is in Afghanistan. Every war is in Iraq. World War II ended soon enough, but it was a disaster in terms of human life. Same with World War I. And I could go on and on and on. We are not the provocateurs. They are. And we need to do what Reagan said, peace through strength. And we need to do what Trump did, build up the United States military. We can't have a military that's 2.7% of the GDP, and people say, well, we spend more than everybody else. Our people are better equipped and we have to spend more, whether it's pensions or medical or whatever it is. The communist Chinese don't give a damn about the men and women in their military, so we have built-in expenses that they don't have. But it doesn't matter. What matters is our capabilities. And we have learned now that they're very weak. Even the continental United States. They send up the equivalent of a Goodyear blimp that floats its way from the mainland China all the way to Montana, Alaska, Montana, Kansas, Nebraska, South Carolina. And Mr. Patton there, Joe Biden says, I ordered it shot down and it's not a big deal. It's time to clean out the brass at the Pentagon. It's time to defeat Biden as soon as we can. But the Republicans in Congress, you have a responsibility. I don't care what the pacifist wing of the Republican Party has to say. They claim they're American first. They're American last. We have got to build up the United States military. We've got to give our men and women in uniform what they need. We have got to prevent a World War III. And by the way, as a footnote on Ukraine, I want to thank the Ukrainian people for taking on the Russians. What were they supposed to do, surrender? They didn't invade Russia. Russia invaded them. They gave up all their nukes to Russia in 1994 on the promise that Russia and we and the British would help protect their sovereignty. Putin is a monster. He's a genocidal maniac. And he said 18 months ago, read it, he wrote it, that he hoped to cut through Ukraine. And then what was next? Poland was next. That's a World War III. The Ukrainians are preventing World War III. But we have to do our part and build up our military so we can defend ourselves. And I am deeply, deeply concerned about it. The brass at the Pentagon and the, well, let me just say, and the Manchurian president in the Oval Office. That's it.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to LevinTV.com and subscribe now.